Okay, advanced game designers, this is Mr. Sparks. We're going to pick up on video number 4. We're going to do a couple of things, change a little bit about what we, how we did in our respawning system, and also start working on our player HUD. So before we start, what I want you to do is go to your Google Classroom here and go into your classwork. And I've actually added a new category called Game Project Assets. So I want you to go in there and there's a player HUD reference files. And this Paragon HUD is the one we're going to kind of work on to design. I'll kind of take some of the assets from here and design our own. So if you want to click that, it'll kind of come up here, and we're going to kind of just pick up some of these elements here across the bottom. We might not include everything, but we're going to kind of get some ideas from this and use this as a template to kind of create our bar, so in our HUD. So you want to right click on this, just click Save Image As, and then just save it in a location where we have it. So I've already got it here in a HUDs folder, so we'll show you how to import that into your project. So go ahead and download that. You just leave it as Paragon HUD. Make sure it's a PNG. And then just click save. And once that downloads, you can just kind of, easiest way to go is just kind of go down here and click show in folder. It'll show this up, and then you can pull up your project here, and we'll kind of have here, and we'll double click, and in here, let me delete that. We're going to create we're going to be creating a Niagara system. So it's a little bit different particle system, so tried that out, and we're going to actually show you how to make that work. So the first thing we want to do is get that asset in here, and then we'll go into that and modify our character death animation, and we'll create a new interesting particle system for that. So so let's go ahead and create a new folder, and we'll just call this HUD. And we'll go ahead and give it a color. Choose that color there, and open that up and pull up your folder, and just take this file here, just drag it in, and it should import that pretty easily. You'll see it kind of comes up here. Just hit save all, say what's selected, and we'll come back to that here before the video is over. Okay, so what I want you to do is go ahead and go back into your blueprints here and create another new folder. We're just going to call this Niagara Systems. So Niagara is the new. Let's give this one like a purple color or something. So Niagara is basically the new version of Unreal's particle system. So they changed the old Cascade system into this new system. It's much more powerful, has a lot more features. We're going to do a very, very simple one. And right now our character basically kind of goes in here, and when our character runs out of health, we just kind of a simple explosion, the character disappears. So we're going to do something a little bit more interesting and a little bit more, and you can kind of modify a little bit some of the things that we do to kind of suit your own purpose. So first thing we want to do is, and one thing you want to make sure, if you want to jump up here to edit, go to plugins, and if you go down here on this left hand side and look at effects, just make sure that Niagara is enabled. Okay, we don't really need to do this one right now, but just make sure that this one here is enabled. Okay, if it's not, check it. It'll ask you to restart your system and restart it, and then you can pick up from there. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go in here and right-click inside this Niagara Systems folder, and we're going to go to the Effects category, and we're just going to pick a system. So we don't worry about any of this other stuff here. We're just going to worry about this here to start with. So you click that, you get this little menu that pops up. And we're going to use this first one here. You could use templates, copy existing systems, things like that. If you had some existing systems, we might make some copies from those. But we're just going to create a new system from selected emitters. So we can click next. And you got different things. So you got like some directional bursts where it will burst, sprites in different direction in a specific direction. You've got some dynamic beams, just an empty system. You can start a fountain, some hanging particles if you have stuff that's just kind of floating around. Then you got like a simple burst, upward mesh burst, static beam, kind of like maybe if you just had a couple of endpoints you wanted to have something just spawning there continuously. We're going to use for this effect the omnidirectional burst. So you just click that and come down here and click this little green plus sign. And that's all we really need to do there. So we're just going to say, and we'll call this character dissolve system. We'll call it that. Okay, so character dissolve system. I'll go ahead and click that. And when you go in here, you'll see it just has this simple little process here. Now, if let me show you here. If yours shows up like this, and already has the environment showing there, and it's a little hard to see sometimes what this is going to do. So if you go over to the preview scene settings here, you can just turn that off. If for any reason that's not on, you can click here on your window and you'll see that it is right here. So if this happened to be unchecked or this was closed out, you don't have it, you just go here to your window and turn that back on, and this will actually let you see the environment, or you can turn it off. Okay, so I'm going to turn it off because for what we want to do, we'll make sure that it looks a little better. Okay, so one of the things you just need to look at is this is our dissolve system. And then this is actually our emitter. So this is an emitter. It kind of puts it in there already. It's got a lot of parameters here. We're only going to do a couple little things here, and to kind of get something going. We won't get into anything really complicated because this does get very, very complex. But you can do some really interesting things with it. Okay, so the biggest thing we really want to do, first of all, is under right now we've got gravity. It just kind of like pops and it just like drops. So if you go down here to under particle update and you go to gravity force, if you click that, you'll notice that our gravity is like negative 980. So that's normal gravity. So I want this to kind of go up instead. So we want to kind of go up in an up direction. So let's start off with like positive 500, and that'll kind of push our particles up. As you can see there, now they're kind of going in an up direction. So we might modify this a little bit to get the effect that we want. To look. So that takes care of the gravity. But we might come back and see if we need to do anything else to that. Okay, another thing we want to do is go to our spawn burst instantaneous under our emitter update. So we're going to click right there. This determines how many particles we get. Right now it's only 100, so I want to kind of go up to maybe about 3,000. That'll give us a bunch of particles to work with. So you can see as that goes, it just kind of pops and goes up, and they kind of fade out in the distance over a specific period of time. We really needed to worry about there. Initialized particles. This is kind of the lifetime here, so they go anywhere from like 1 second to a maximum of 2.5. We could change that around a little bit if we wanted them to live a little bit longer, but for now we don't really need to worry too much about that. The big thing we're looking at here is the color. So the color right now, they're this white color, and we want them to kind of maybe turn a different color over a period of time. So, or we can just kind of go in here. We'll make a simple color. So we'll make like a bluish color, really bright. So I'm going to go with B, my blue channel, and go 50. I think 50 will be good. And we get this color here, and we'll go on the green or the alpha. Oops, nope, my bad. 100 here, and we'll make this 50. So we get like a really bright bluish color, and it kind of fades off. But you can play around with that color if you want a different color. It's perfectly fine. You can play around some of those values, and you'll get some interesting effects. Okay, so I'll leave the color up to you, but this is where you would go and set it. Okay, so pretty much that's all we need to do for that color. We got our gravity force. A couple other things that we need to do to kind of get an effect where we want to do it is if we go up here to particle update, we can add some new things to this. So we're going to click this, and I'm going to say force, and we got a lot of different forces here. So I'm going to choose a point force, and you'll get this error message here, and it's because the way this thing works is it has to go in a certain order, and any new forces or whatever has to go above this one right here. So one simple way to do it is just hit fix issue. It'll kind of move it for you. So now you just wait for it to compile. We'll let it rerun itself here, and you'll notice that now really doesn't do a whole lot. So we can go here and turn this on, I do believe, and we can say we want this to be on kind of the z-axis. So we'll zero that out on the x, and let's say 2 on this. And you'll see it kind of pulls that up in a z fashion, and let's say maybe 500. You see it goes really fast. 250. Let's try 250. That looks pretty good. So you can see it kind of pulls, and it just pulls those kind of straight up. And the higher this number goes, so we were good at 10, you'll see it, notice it pulls it really, really fast. So we probably don't want that to go that fast. So I'm going to leave mine about 2. And you, like I say, you can experiment with some of these features, and that will give you a lot of interesting effects. Okay, and one other thing that I want to do is add another force. If you type in vortex, and we're going to use a vortex force. So vortex force will basically allow us to, we'll go ahead and fix that issue again. And what a vortex force will do is basically it will give us a spinning version here. So let's give it a chance to compile. So it's trying to compile there. Okay, and I think I'm going to up this to about 800. And you can see that's kind of giving us a good rotation. Let's try 2 on that. Gives us an interesting effect there. If you zero that out, you'll get some interesting stuff. So let's say 0.5. Gives us some, let's see, 2. Gives us a nice little effect. 1.5 gives us something like that. We would have put our force at 1,000. It's going to kind of push that out a little bit. Let's go back to 1. We'll kind of make it stay closer. Okay, so we get a burst there, and we'll kind of see how it just kind of goes. That looks fairly decent there, so maybe we'll try that and see what we get. So that's kind of interesting. So let's go ahead and hit save, and we can come back in here and we can make some changes if we want to get different effects and see which ones we like the best. Okay, so that'll kind of take care of that. We'll just leave that up so if we want to use it in a few minutes. And let's go over to our character and go into our base character here. And a couple things we're going to do. We're going to kind of go at this point here. We'll still leave our player last locations fine, but we're going to go in here into our portion here. Click your mesh. And let's add an arrow component. So we'll add an arrow, and we're just going to call this the Niagara spawn point. Okay, I kind of want that to point just like it is right down here. I just pretty much want it to spawn right there at the character's feet. So it's going to kind of start right here and just kind of like go straight up. So it kind of make it look a little bit more interesting. So from there, we'll go over to our player damage function, and we can delete that get actor location. We'll leave this variable here. We're just going to drag this Niagara spawn point out. We're going to say get world location. Okay, and we could maybe, I think this will be just fine. We'll take this here because we don't really need a rotation on this, and that should take care of that part. So really, we're just kind of resetting the last location to where the character is at its feet. So we'll go ahead and compile that. And the easy way to get over to, we're going to call this in the respawn systems, because we're going to go through here. We're going to set our actor hidden in game. We're going to go over to the respawn. So if you double click that, that'll open up your game mode and put you over here where your respawn custom event is. So what we're going to do here, we're going to make one change. We're going to get rid of this spawn emitter because we can't use emitter with the Niagara system. There's a different function for that. So we're just going to click that, get rid of that. We'll leave this here. And we're just going to say, if you just type in system, you'll say we're going to do a spawn, and this is under the Niagara section. We're going to say spawn system at location. So that will be that. We'll take this last location, plug it in. Our system template should only have one, our character dissolve system, and we'll plug this back into the branch. Okay. So now let's see what that effect looks like after we have that. So we only made a couple little changes. So we'll hit play. We'll F11 to make that full screen. Now let's go up here where we can kind of see a little better. Okay, so right in here, we're going to take some health away. And sure enough, there we go. We got our nice little system there. So that looks pretty good. It's going to go right where we're at. So it's kind of like it's disintegrating our character, which kind of looks a little bit better than the other system there. So this would actually work if we were actually jumping in the air, I think. So I'm going to jump up here and one more time. And we're out of health, so we're out of lives. So let's go back here. Let's try that again. Go back F11. And we'll go up here where we can see a little bit. So we'll, sure enough, there we go. We have that pretty much set up. So very interesting little feature. So not too bad. You can play around with these values here on this vortex and things like that to make that more interesting. You can play around with the point force, the velocity, and the force strength and things like that of how fast that actually happens. So if we were to change this up to say maybe like 4, you can see how that would go faster like that. So play around with it until you get a, let's see what if we got one kind of looks like that. Yeah, that doesn't look too bad. Let's see what that looks like quick. Let's get here. It actually looks a little bit more interesting. So let's try that one. And one thing we see there is our character reappears while our Niagara system is still there. So we want to make sure that that doesn't happen. So the reason that's happening is if we go over here and we look, is our maximum lifespan is 2.5 seconds. So our system is still actually active when our character is respawning. So we can fix that by, let's see here, under our delay, we can take this right here and let's just make that 2.5 instead of 2.0. So 2.5 will fix that little issue there. So we can try this again. We go here. So we can see this. And there we are. And it's gone now. So that fixed that whole issue. So we try that just one more time. And our system, their particles are gone. Good. So 2.5 seconds is what we want to do over here in our game mode on the delay right here. So this is how long it takes before we destroy our actor and then possess the next one. Okay, so that pretty much will take care of that little system. So we'll go ahead and close that out. We'll close that out. Now the next thing we want to do is we'll jump back over here. We'll go into our HUD, and now we kind of need to figure out how to display like a floating health bar over top of our character. So we're going to create that first, and then we'll work on getting our regular. Okay, so we're going to try to create this floating health bar, and so what we want to do inside our little HUD here, after we've imported this, we're going to right-click here. We're going to choose User Interface Widget Blueprint. And we're going to say, we're going to call this a floating health bar. Okay, so we'll go ahead and open this up. And what we want to do, just so we can kind of get the idea and the parameters around it, is we can use our background image and kind of went through this, and we're going to try to go from what I have, and we'll make this hopefully work correctly. So first thing we want to do is we want to go up here, and we're going to make this about 100 by 20 so that for the size. So you want to go up here to fill screen, and we're going to say custom and 100 by 20. So should be pretty small, and we'll zoom in on here as best we can. We'll do this ahead of time. Okay, so here's our area to work with. So this is what our health bar about what size it's going to be. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is we're going to create a size box. So just going to do a size box, and we'll drag that down, and we'll go ahead and anchor it to the whole canvas and zero out all the offsets. So that'll make it exactly the same size as our canvas, 100 by 20. And we'll also, on our size box, click width override and height override, so we'll make that 100 by 20. Okay, so 100 by 20. Okay, the next thing we want to do is we're going to add a vertical box. We want to have from that Paragon image, we're going to kind of have one where it's got the name up here, and then it has like the level, and then the bars on the bottom. So the first thing we're going to need is a vertical box. So if we get in here to panel, I believe it is we'll drag a vertical box down inside our size box, and that will pretty much make that the whole thing. Okay, so that's going to be our container. It's going to hold everything, and we're going to go ahead and add inside that. We're going to first of all, we'll add a horizontal box. This will be a lot of parenting, so we're going to drop that in. So I have a horizontal box here. We're going to choose fill. And we're also going to need an additional horizontal box. So we're going to go ahead and bring it down here too. And we'll choose fill for that one. So that'll pretty much fill both of them. Okay, so we're going to work on this top one. This is going to be the top part where our name is going to be. We're going to add a border. So if we go back up here, we're going to add a border into our first horizontal box. And we'll kind of get this right here. And what we're going to want to do is choose fill. Okay. And then we're going to add, and we'll name this one so it's a little easier to see. We'll just call this border name. Okay. So border name, this will be a little easier to find these things as we go. So we're going to take under our brush setting here, and under tint, and I've already got this color kind of picked out. So we're going to choose that color and click OK. And if you look at it, it's going to be pretty much these values here. So we can maybe narrow this down to say like 0.70. And then we'll say 0.55 and then 0.33, and that'll give us a nice little gold color here. Okay, and so what we'll need to do next is we're going to create some padding around this, and so the padding around this I believe should be about 1. So if you go up here to content, we'll go here, say 1 on the padding. Okay, you'll see how that works here in just a minute. So what we're going to do is we're going to add another border. So just drag it down and drop it on here. Our border can have one child, so we're going to make this border a child of this border. Okay, so this will be our border. We'll go ahead and go to name. So border name BG for background. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and make the tint of that this black color. Okay, and you can see, well, oops, lost it. When you zoom in like this, sometimes it's a little hard to keep track of where you're at. Okay, so we have, zoom in a little better. Okay, so you notice we have like a little bit of a gold border around there. Okay, And the next thing we'll do is we want to add some text to this border. So we'll say this is going to be our name text. And obviously this is way too big. So in our font section right here, we're going to make this like, let's try 6. Okay. And this border here, you notice it already kind of comes with padding. So we're going to get rid of that padding there. Maybe make it 1. Try that. 1 on the left. Let's make 0 for top. And 0 for bottom. Okay. And we'll just name this text here. We'll just kind of give it name. Okay. Alright, so one other thing we're going to put in this horizontal box to kind of split this up. We only want this to go a certain portion over. So what we'll want to do is, if we take our, let's add a spacer. So we're going to add a spacer to this horizontal box here. That's our name. And when we click on our spacer, we're going to choose fill. And let's see, we're going to choose this, and let's say fill 0.33. It's maybe too small, maybe 0.4. And we'll have our spacer at say 0.6. So we'll get something similar to that. Okay, so that'll take care of this top portion here. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to work on the next horizontal box. Okay. So what we'll need in there is we're going to need another border. So we're going to take another border and we're going to drop it into this horizontal box here. That'll place it right there. And this is basically going to be our border for the level. So let's say border level. Okay. And we're going to give it the same color. So under brush here, we're going to pick this color here. Okay. And we did, let's see, what did we do for the other one? And the best way, I should have did this before. If we click this here, we got all these parameters here. So let's go ahead and take this one and delete that one off. Oops. Didn't want to do that. Didn't want to lose all those nice colors. But we lost them anyway. So let's go ahead and take this one up here and drop it on there. Okay. Alright, so now we have that one. We'll go down here to this border and we'll just choose that color as well. Okay. So now we'll take this border here and we're going to fill this one at about 0.17. All right. And you won't really notice anything yet, so we're going to add to that horizontal box a vertical box. And in here we'll choose fill, and our vertical box will have a fill 1. It's fine. Okay. So our border level here, we're going to need another border. We'll stack these together. So we're going to add another border. We'll call this border level BG for background. And this border is not going to be able to have that big a, so we'll make it like that. We'll make it 1. Okay. And this one we're going to zero out any padding, and we're going to make it this dark black color as well. And then we'll add the text. Obviously very big. We'll say this is our level text. Okay. And we'll make this like 6. We'll just give it a value of 6 to start with. And I'm going to center it horizontally and vertically. So inside there. So that'll take care of my border right here, or my level. And then inside my vertical box, I want to add 2 progress bars. So let's take a progress bar here, drop it in there, and we're going to choose fill. And then we can just kind of duplicate that, and that'll fill them both. So let's make this progress bar here our health bar. And we'll make this progress bar our energy bar. Okay. Now for our health bar, let's give it a fill color of, well, let's just make it all green, maybe a little darker. Let's save that color. And we'll give it a percent of 0.5 just so we can see it. Our energy bar, we can leave it at this green, this blue color if we want to, and we'll also, let's give it maybe 0.75 just so it looks a little different. Now one thing we can do here on these bars is we can make them, the background, a little different color than what's right here. So let's go to the style, and under our background image and tint, I want to make this red. So we want that to be red completely. Okay, so when it's empty, it's going to be red. When it's full, it's going to be green. And then here on this blue, let's do the same thing for the tint. So maybe make this like a dark, not completely black, but a dark grayish color. Okay. So pretty much this is kind of what we're looking at. We'll come back in and we'll bind this up. So we can actually bind this health bar already. We don't have our energy variable set up or anything like that, but we'll come back in and do that. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we will bind this value here on our health bar, and then we'll be able to fix everything up when we put it in our character. We'll be able to set this up correctly. Okay. So let's go ahead and go to this one, and the way you bind this is right here in your percent. We're going to choose bind, and we're going to create a binding. Okay, and that's going to give us this nice little function over here. And so what we want to do is we're going to have to get that information from our character. So let's say get player character here, and we're going to say cast to. We're going to use our character base. We'll plug this in here. And as our character base, we're going to get health. So we want to get our health. We also want to get max health. And the way progress bars work, again, we'll take this top pin, plug it in here. The way health bars work, or the way progress bars work, is they work from 0.0 to 1.0. So our health value defaulted over here, you can see grayed out, is 100, and our max value is 100 as well. So we're just going to simply take these two and divide a float by float. Put that in. That'll give us a value between 0 and 1. Okay. Compile that. And we should be able to close this out and go over to our character. Okay, so over here on our character, we're going to go in here and we're going to add another component. So we're going to add a widget. So we want this widget to actually be, so we'll just call this our floating health bar. Well, no, we're using a few more things, so let's go floating HUD. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to go over here and with this selected, we want to go over here where it says weight class none. So we want to choose floating health bar. Okay. Now it's going to be kind of a weird rotation here, it looks to me like, but as you can see, it's going to look like this. Okay, so we made that thing 100 by 20. So we're going to go right here to the draw size. We're going to change that, because I think if we were to do that, we're not going to see anything. So we're going to manually set that to 100 by 20. Okay, and now it's going to be pretty much here, and we can rotate it 90 degrees. So we'll look in this direction here. It should appear here. So maybe we'll back it up just slightly where the edge of it's right about there. Okay. So what we really need to do now is we need to actually want this to face, we want this to face our character all the time. So if we were to go out and play now, crazy error. So now you can kind of see it, and when we turn it kind of disappears. So we don't want that to happen. We can see as we use our health, it's actually going down. So now, so the particle system works. We're back. Okay, so what we want to do real quick is we want to go in here and we want to set up a function that will actually run and keep this floating health bar always facing us. Okay, so we'll go in here and we're going to create a new function. And we're going to say floating HUD rotation. Floating HUD face camera. Okay, so we'll call it that. Floating HUD face camera. And so what we want to do is we want to say find look at rotation. So we're going to do a find look at rotation, and what we want to do here is we got to get this here, and we're going to say floating HUD get world rotation. Oh, no, my bad. Get world location. Okay, and I believe we will get this, and we can W. I'll plug this in. Okay, so one thing we need to finish doing here is go ahead and hit return. And that should take care of that part of it there. Compile that. And one thing you'll notice as we play, where this is slightly offset, it just kind of moves back and forth depending on where our character is. So if we don't want that to happen, we can kind of go in here and we can position this. And let's just kind of go maybe to front, maybe left. Let's just kind of move this over right there. And now when we play, it will stay stationary where it's not moving back and forth. So that looks pretty good. One other thing we might do is this, our character is jumping up. We could actually do a parent socket, but that probably would cause a lot of issues. So maybe we just move this up another notch or two there. And so hopefully that looks a little better. Character's not actually moving into it. Okay, so that pretty much take care of that part of it. And I think we'll kind of we'll end the video on, we'll create our actual player HUD and we'll add this background image in there, and then we'll just kind of wrap it up there, and we'll pick up on that part at the next point. So what we want to do is we'll go ahead and right click and we'll choose user interface, widget blueprint, and we'll go ahead and say player HUD, and we'll go ahead and open that up. And in here we'll add an image to the canvas panel, and we'll just call this background reference. Okay, we'll anchor it to this outside part, and we'll make sure that the offset left, top, right, and bottom are all 0. And then if we were just to click our Paragon HUD out here in our content browser, go back here and under our brush, if you expand your brush section down, right here where it says image, we'll just click that. So this will kind of give us an idea of what we need to do, so we can kind of design our these things around where they're positioned on this screen, which looks pretty good. We might want to adjust those a little bit, but this will give us a good aesthetic feel. Kind of give us a good way to put these together. So that's pretty much what we want to do. Just kind of decide how we want to do all these things, and we'll just kind of move on from there. So that'll kind of end this video here, and we'll go ahead and compile, and we'll pick up on starting to put all these elements together, binding some things to make this work, adding it to our viewport. So that'll be all for this video, and we'll see you in the next one.